I'm going to fanboy for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'm allowed.
Yes.
With your permission, obviously.
No, you always have my.
Kevin Harlan, again, he's calling the American side of this on TNT. Tonight he is joining us live from Air Canada Center. Mr. Harlan, welcome to Tim and Sid. It's a pleasure. How you doing?
Great to be on, Tim. Sid, thank you so much for having me. We love coming to Toronto. Not enough, unfortunately. I hope we come for many more times, especially here where you've got the ball rolling in the right direction.
Now it's a perfect segue into that, but again, the fanboy in me wants to talk about.
Okay, we'll get into the Canada.
We'll get the Canada thing.
TNT should be here more often.
Yes, we'll get that in a second. We'll talk about that. No regard for human life, Kevin. On the spot, in the moment, or was it in the back pocket for a while, and you just had to have the right moment?
No, it was. I was working with Doug Collins, and it was the 2007 playoffs, and Kevin Garnett was the reigning Defensive Player of the Year for Boston. And it didn't really hit me until Doug, who has seen and done more in basketball than I'll ever dream of, took his arm and pushed me back in my chair, and that was coming out of my mouth as I said, "With no regard for human," and then it just came out. And it's one of those things that you say when you're screwing around in the playground with your buddies or whatever, and no, you can't script stuff like that. It just kind of comes out. I don't think I've used it since. Probably will never use it again because it was unscripted. It was natural in the moment. So, but it's fun to hear those again.
Oh, it's been that line has been
surprised they still have a job.
No, but that line was retired immediately when you said it. Like you can't go back and dip in that well. Like that line is in the rafters of sports broadcasting.
If there's something that comes up as good as maybe
you unretire it. But I think it's a great thing that you haven't said it since.
But hold on. So you delivered that line with a blow to the sternum from Doug Collins?
Yes. We were falling backwards in our chairs, which just about went back in the lap of the people in back of us. But yes, there was motion with us, and there was a lot going on the floor, and it just kind of came out.
Those are always the best ones.
Fortunately, I guess.
Yeah, those are always the best ones. I feel like Canada shouldn't need the vindication of TNT or ESPN games, but we've heard it all day long. We've heard it for years up here about how Canada doesn't get enough respect from the American networks and American network television. Have you heard the cries from Canada about getting the Raptors on more often?
Well, I can tell you from an American standpoint, there's not even a thought of that. I do know, logistically, it is more expensive for us to do games in Canada, which I hate because I love coming here. And everybody loves coming here. The crowd is second to none. We now have a team that's worthy among the elite in the NBA. The city is gorgeous. I mean, it's like a destination. So it's a shame that the price difference between doing a game in Cleveland or doing a game in Toronto is so significant. And that I can tell you honestly, that is the only reason. They've got to pick and choose which games they have. And obviously Cleveland coming in makes total sense, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. But it's all money. It is driven by money and only money. It is not a desire or any, north of the border. It's none of that stuff. It's the cost here is very expensive for American television to come in and do a game.
And so we know the players like coming here. The Cavs have been here for 3 days and opened a Drake restaurant.
We know why. We know why they've been
Tuesday
here.
Night. Yeah. Tuesday night.
Were you there, Kevin? Did you get the invitation? Mine got lost in the mail.
Did not get the invitation. No, he did not send one my way, unfortunately.
Maybe
next time. Enjoyed that, and that'd have been a good night. Three of us would have had a good time there.
I think so.
And we know would have picked up the check. Not me.
Not Sid. Not Sid. Yeah.
Not me.
Not me.
All right. Tim's the big loser in this one. Sorry, Timmy. Kevin, give us the. Okay, from a respect standpoint, we've kind of talked about that, maybe the television aspect of America and the Raptors, and it's unique. When you've seen this team play on television, whatever, and I know they're missing some pieces tonight, what do you make of this Raptors team who genuinely tried to have a bit of a culture change going into the year?
Yeah, I think they have crossed a threshold as opposed to maybe the last couple of years while they were getting good and becoming one of the best teams and having to rely so much on the All-Stars. Now you're seeing the bottom half of the roster, the younger players beginning to perform, and they can be moved in and put in quality minutes, and you can rest your All-Stars, which will benefit you down the road. So that sea change, I think, is pretty significant. All the good teams have it. Now you've got it, so it makes it a different kind of culture, I think, which, Dwayne coaches in and these players play in. And I also think, too, that they've tweaked how they're, as you know, their offense. They're taking more threes. They're still a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense like a year ago. The only team that can say that. So, things are growing hand in hand. A lot of times I think it doesn't happen as fast as people would like, but there has been a method. The only downside for me in this is I wish that Kyle were about his 7th year in the league instead of his 12th. Because if he were still so young, and we know we got DeLon Wright coming up, and I think he's going to really be a fantastic player. But Kyle is such a special guard, a leader out there. Even DeMar said it after the game the other night. He said, we missed his command on the floor. And I get that. So, but listen, this team is so far ahead of so many because they've drafted the right way. They've built their kids in the right way. They've got the great leadership of some of the veterans on the team. I mean, this is like the best situation I can recall, even with good records over the last couple of years. This is, to me, the best situation they've been in. And should they win here the next 2 games, they'll have their best start in franchise history. That's saying something for a team that is continuing to build and grow and yet change a little bit on the fly, change the way they handle minutes, change the way they give responsibility, and incorporating some of these young players.
Kevin, I was doing some research on the Cavs, and in fact, in the International Brotherhood of Broadcasters, and since I'm picking up the tab anyway, feel free to use this stat. In the last 40
I'll
years,
use it, believe me.
in the last 40 years, only 3 teams have ranked outside the top 10 in defensive efficiency in the regular season and gone on to win the championships. And all 3 of those teams had won the title with a top 10 defense the year before. I say this because the Cavs rank 29th in defensive efficiency as we speak. Can they overcome that?
Well, they have in the past. They've shown these lulls. They've hit these troughs in the past, and they've dealt with them. And I think it's made them stronger because they've learned how to get out of a malaise and find themselves and become the team that they became each of those past seasons. I think the same is true now. They're trying to bring in this point guard who needs the ball to be active and successful in Isaiah Thomas. They don't have Rose. They're moving Kevin Love to the center. Well, he's always played the power. So, I mean, they're moving pieces, too, and they're trying to figure out what best now they can do in the wake of Kyrie Irving no longer being there. When Irving was there, things were really set and they made sense. Now they're trying to figure out with new pieces, and 7 new players have active hands on this team, how it's all going to blend together. But this has been kind of typical of them. They have hit these lulls over the last 3-4 years, yet they have found a way to come out of it, and they've always come out stronger. So I'm not. This is to me a mirage. This is nothing I'm going to hang my hat on. This is just part of their process. Their process is just different than a lot of teams. They have such incredible confidence. Listen, I think they're going to play very well tonight after the film session and after they got their fannies kicked in Minnesota on Mondays. I think they're going to come out and play very, very well tonight. Usually it's the All-Star break when they shift gears. Maybe they'll start a little bit earlier. But a game like this, I know it's got their attention. It has got their attention.
Kevin, before we let you go, I'm just curious, a guy with your schedule, a guy with your experience, what's your favorite time of the sporting calendar? Because coming up is March Madness, then it's playoffs, and it's NBA, and TNT's going full bore, and it's not stopping. What's the juicy time of your year? Is it coming up?
Well, you know what? I'm here tonight in Toronto. Tomorrow, I'm going to fly home and change clothes, then fly to Oxford, Mississippi, and do Ole Miss in Florida for CBS on Saturday. Then after the game, fly to Minneapolis, do the Vikings and the Saints on Sunday. And then after the game, if I can make my flight, fly to Los Angeles for the Martin Luther King triple header on TNT and do Houston and the Clippers. So that's 4 games and 5 nights in different time zones all over the country. But I've been married 30 years, shockingly, to the same woman. We've had 4 kids. Now, I don't know. I can't explain the 4 kids because I don't think I've been around long enough. But what I can tell you is that an understanding wife makes things a lot easier, and I've been blessed with that. And the good Lord gave me a little bit of endurance. But I love what I do. I love the business. I look forward to nights like this, visiting with great people like yourselves. and being a part of something that's so special. And the NBA to me is just rocketing right now. It just could not get any better. But yet I know the best is yet to come, I think, in this league. So I get the NFL playoffs. I get a good college basketball game on Saturday, and then I get the NBA. So I'm blessed beyond measure. Believe me, I feel very, very fortunate.
Every once in a while on this show, we like to pull the curtain back, and we told them a little earlier, so we'll tell you we are big fans, appreciate the time. Have a great call at night.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to visit with you. Thanks for having me on.
There is
One and only Kevin Harlan.
the one and only
TNT call tonight.